Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of College Football UK. As ever, I am your host, Fletch, and this podcast is brought to you by the AAW Network. We have a full house today of participants in this podcast, and we will go with the return of the Nick. Not quite as catchy as Return of the
Turn off
Mac.
the Nick. No, it
How are
doesn't
you?
have them quite. We'll go with it though. We'll
We'll
go
go.
with
Yeah,
it.
we'll go with it. Nick, how are you?
All good. Mobile setup this week, so yeah, we're all good. We're here.
Well, we're happy to have you, even if you are joining us from on the road. Hoping to have maybe, I believe you've got a special guest lined up for us.
Yes, but they're not here yet.
Okay, lovely.
Uh,
We also have ready for his weekend watching his team play in London. We have Sam the Ram. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to be back after not getting the chance to talk about the build up to the Red River rivalry, which I would have loved to have talked about. But
build
at the
up was
same
better than
time,
the Red River rivalry.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Um, unless you're a Texas fan, um, but yeah, I'm sure we'll come on to that a bit later.
I have a challenge for you later if you want to actually talk about it. And then finally, as a regular cast member, we have Gary. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Glad to be back, boys. Great to see a full house, a plethora of guests. Look at that,
Um,
throwing in a
how,
plethora already. Look at that.
how was your weekend with the 49ers watch party?
The watch party was a success. The result was less so. It was tough sledding being the MC for an event like that when the heart and soul of the team goes down early on. It was tough going. It was tough watching. But yeah, and the event as a whole, 400 49ers fans on a Sunday night in the middle of London, still pretty good turnout. But yeah, it's tough going watching when Fred went down.
That
Did you
that
have
was
to?
that was an awful thing to watch. I saw that live and I was like,
Yeah.
that's just
As soon as you
nasty.
saw it, you were like, "That's nasty." Swatch, yeah, go to commercial. You knew it was bad. It's like, yeah,
Yeah. Did you have to pull out your
Yeah.
TikTok highlights?
yeah. The whole thing was a TikTok highlight, if you like. But yeah, I managed to get through. I think it was four costume changes in the evening as well. So
Lovely.
Good effort.
Lovely. And, well, I say last of the regular cast members, you may as well be a regular cast
he might
member
as well just
now.
move in
It's
now.
becoming a habit at this point.
Just move it in now, isn't he? Yeah.
We have Adam from CFB UK View. How are you, sir? Also ready to go watch Sam's team play in London
I will be,
on
yes, I'll
Sunday.
be going along. I'm a regular. Not only am I becoming a regular here, I'm a regular for the Wembley game each year as well. So yeah, pleased to be back on. As Gary, I think, pulled out the bat phone, asked for my appearance. He didn't say my name three times, just once was enough, and I appeared. So pleased to be back
Simple
on.
as that. That's all it takes.
Lovely, lovely stuff. Right. So before we get into the episode, I want to say a couple of things. Number one, some of the stats I've been looking at over the last couple of weeks, particularly over the last month, have been incredible to see. Been really, really grateful for all the new people tuning in. And like people are sticking through the episodes a lot more, um, which
Fair
is
play to
amazing.
them.
But what we'd like to do and get this out early now is just say, look, if you please follow us on social media. If you're on YouTube, head to the description, and primarily our audience base is audio only. So if you can go into the description of the episode on whatever platform you are on, you will find a load of links that are right there for you to click on to follow the College Football UK podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. Follow the AAW network on all those platforms too. Join our Discord server, follow all of the hosts and our wonderful guest here as well. Um, Again, this may as well be. I don't have to copy and like add any new links anymore because yours just naturally stay in there now, just in case. Please do. And on the weekends, we do like to throw some watch parties. We will jump in voice chats on Discord. We will watch the games together. We've had a few kind of jump in and out this weekend, which was really, really nice to see. So yeah, please get onto us on social media. Please get onto us on Discord. We'd love to spend some time with you, chat football, and all of the other stuff. Right, okay, so we've got a massive weekend of football to talk about. So much has happened, but it starts with, I think, where we start is with the news. We have no Nick's news today. Now, does Sam's supplement or does Gary's Gazette want to take away with
It's Sam.
Big weekend.
Sam's running with it today.
Sam Supplement, take it away, my friend.
So I suppose we'll start with what arguably are the biggest news in terms of probably the major shifts that are going to come into the college football season this year is with the three very, very recent firings of head coaches. First, we'll start with Oregon State have fired Trent Bray, who is only in his second season and within 7 games. I mean, they were winless in 7. It was kind of inevitable that he was going to lose his job. I think they've been playing absolutely terribly. So yeah, he lost his job after they lost to Wake Forest 39-14. The second is UAB have moved on from Trent Dilfer, sorry, not Dilfer.
Ex-NFL quarterback, wasn't he?
Super Bowl winning quarterback, I
Super
believe.
Bowl.
Well,
Well,
time.
That.
And he was fired after his team got absolutely pummeled by FAU 53-33. And then probably the biggest news is James Franklin.
Considering
fired by Penn State.
our conversation last week, Nick.
I can't believe he's been. I can't believe that. I mean, I think it's absolutely. I can't believe it's taken them that long. Absolutely fantastic decision. I can't fault them.
Can't fault it. Can't fault the decision.
Well, it's we talked about it. We talked about it last week, and if unless I don't remember last week correctly, which is quite possibly the way, I think it's probably the right decision. I think it's crazy how they didn't do it earlier.
Yeah, so he was in his 12th season and got fired after their 22-21 home loss to Northwestern,
yeah.
sorry, which was actually the third game on the bounce that they'd lost, and they are now 0-3 in the Big Ten, which I would probably say, if they weren't already before, definitely puts them out of any chance of winning that.
I think so. I think that's gone. Yeah, that boat has sailed. Mad one. A mad sort of firing week.
But I suppose the biggest thing I think that's come out of this afterwards is now the number of people that have been linked with these jobs. You obviously have the ones I've seen. Is it Matt Rule from
Nebraska?
Yeah, from Nebraska.
He's not denied it or quashed it or not done anything to stop the rumors, has he?
Dylan Raiola has come out and said he's not going anywhere, but obviously Matt Rule has not said anything himself. Missouri's head
Signetti,
coach,
wasn't it?
Missouri's head coach.
Signetti's been linked as well.
Yeah, I know the Missouri head coach has the UCF's coach. I think I did see was linked with somewhere as well.
Yeah.
Essentially, we're now in this period of what I suppose what a lot of people in college football are calling is the head coach roulette, where we could see a number of plethora of coaches being linked with different jobs, and it's going to be a case of who's going to take who. And obviously, now all the big comments around. Obviously, we talked before about Bill Belichick's buyout and all of the issues around that, and obviously now that's not ramping up because obviously the fact that these other jobs are around. So we could see a number of head coaches moving jobs. The only thing is that the ones that are being linked are with teams that are already playing well, and the problem is do they jump ship and join a place like Penn State where they could potentially take on what is seen as a bigger college franchise team, or do they stick with what they've got? And I think, where we've seen the likes of Indiana's head coach be linked, I don't see them moving on at all because Indiana obviously, again, we'll come on to Indiana a bit later, but they are playing fantastic football at the moment. So is he really going to step away from that position? It's like, so it's probably, I think you're probably more likely to see, and again, I don't want to disrespect the teams in the division, in the group of 5 division, but the ones that are doing well there, I think they could potentially be the ones that get snapped up. The likes of The head coaches at Memphis, potentially somewhere like North Texas could potentially be a team that'll be eyed up. So I think those are the ones where we could see a lot of change, and that's where it could have massive implications in their season as a whole, because you take away the head coach, you take away basically their style of play. So that's where we could see a few differences. But those are sort of the main news that I saw. The other one that I wanted to mention, which I thought was quite was more of a bit of a light-hearted bit of news, was Texas Tech have been fined, along with whoever they were playing. I can't remember who they were playing now. I did have it written down here.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, so Texas Tech.
It was
have been
against
fined for
Kansas.
their repeating. Yeah, they've been fined for their repeated tortilla throwing, and Kansas have also been. I think the head coach Lance Leopold, who, just thought we'd mention him, he is following the AAW network. If we haven't already said it, say it again.
Friend of the show.
Coach, yeah, it's a friend of the show. He's also incurred a penalty after publicly critiquing both Texas Tech and the Big 12 for their handling of the situation. So I just found it a very funny thing to be fined for, as you've been fined for tortilla throwing, given the levels of fines we see. Obviously, Colorado got fined $50,000 as well for their storming of the field, which, given the fact that in most of the places it's 500,000, it's quite a small amount. And Coach Sanders was asked about it in his post conference. He didn't even know how much he was going to get fined, and he found it quite funny that they were going to find $50,000. And I think he made some joke about the fact, well, can we find $50,000 from somewhere?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll shake this at back of the sofa or some discussion around it. Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of the main news. I think obviously the biggest news is all the head coach changes. So that's where all the focus has been this week in the news.
Yeah, it's that merry-go-round now, isn't it? As you say, or the carousel, or whatever word you want to use. It's like who goes where, and where do the dominoes then start falling? Because especially James Franklin going from Penn State, 12 years he's been there. I think the buyout was something like 50 million he's walked away with. So, poor him. Shame,
with some caveats, though.
With some caveats, he's got to look for a job, or he's got to actively look for a job that has to pay him over 8 million, or there's all sorts of weird caveats coming out. But
I'm sure he won't struggle finding a job.
I'm sure, UCLA, there's a number of open roles that UCLA one looks to me like somewhere that he would go in and set up, and I can't imagine that they wouldn't have been on the phone to him already. It's just a bit crazy, but 12 years or however long he's been there, it's not just, as you say, Sam, it's not just losing the head coach, but you lose what most of the assistants go as well. The style of play changes. It's a massive upheaval for all of those teams.
Well, penny for the thoughts of Jim Knowles, who left the Buckeyes over the summer to go in there and set up, and now what you joined for is gone.
I suppose from a Drew Aller perspective, his future is now completely buggered, isn't it? He's now out for the season. His eligibility's finished. He's not exactly high on anybody's radar for draft picking next year. So what happens to him now?
No, I don't.
Sixth, seventh round?
I didn't think Drew Aller was going to make it in the first round anyway, based on how he'd been this year. Yeah. So there's a good chance he may even, he may be another. Well, no, I think he might get drafted. I think he may be another Sanders, where you're down in like rounds 4, 5, 6. And
he's still sitting there, and somebody goes, "Let's have a punt."
Take a chance on him.
Not to throw this in Sanders, but we all thought Quinn Ewers at the start of last year was going to be a really high pick, and turns out just wasn't that impressive last year. Ends up getting picked, ends up falling down the draft boards. It's going to be one of them. And the only reason I think he came back this year was because he thought that he could play himself into a first round, because he wasn't anyway. Which is quite sad given the talent at quarterback last year in the draft. If you weren't a first round talent already, I don't think you get the talent this year is a bit better that's going to be going into the draft. So
I think there's a lot more.
Wasn't it more that they all came back? Wasn't it?
That could make the step up. I don't think there's necessarily been QBs that stand out this year. But I think there are QBs that have the talent to make the step up, not necessarily that are playing well. I still think, the likes of, Nussmeier and that will probably be up in there in the talks for first rounders. But yeah, I think it's just going to be a case of probably somewhat. I could see somewhere like someone like Drew Aller could go somewhere. I mean, I could see him going somewhere like the Rams, because if we know we're maybe not going to be looking at a quarterback, we maybe think he might be someone who could learn. If we can keep Stafford for another year, he can learn under that or something like that. He may be somewhere like that, or maybe somewhere where they've got, they're
settled and they've got a year or two to.
Maybe somewhere like, I'm trying to think. Somewhere, I mean, even somewhere like sit behind Jackson Dart or something like that. Someone who can just learn. I think that's probably not a bad example, but he needs to. He's probably going to be one of these where he sits for a year or two before he even considers being a starter.
Yeah,
he'll just join the Cleveland
train. Yeah, just the train. Cleveland quarterback train. Yeah. I reckon he'll go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should work for him.
Yeah.
Go sit behind Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers loves it when they draft QBs.
Well, they've already got Will Howard sitting behind him.
I was going to say they've got Will Howard there, haven't
they? But there's a couple of things. The only other thing I really want to mention is just a little bit of an expansion on the James Franklin stuff, because the question's been bandied about. Big numbers have been bandied out. There's a 10 million difference between numbers I'm hearing, from $49 million to $59 million. So I do want to just want to provide one bit of extra clarification on it. It's called a duty to mitigate clause that's in his contract. They will pay him, I believe it is somewhere in the region of $49 to $59 million. The exact number, I don't think anyone really knows. We've just got a rough idea. The duty to mitigate clause basically says that he has to go out now and find a job, and it's got to be as soon as possible. That job, if it does not pay him the $8 million a year he would be owed throughout the remainder of his contract, all Penn State have to do is pay the difference.
Yeah.
Which the big question was, wow, that's a lot of money. They're throwing a lot of money out there. I had the question of, what if a booster's got involved and said, listen, I'm a billionaire, I don't like James Franklin, I will give you 50 million, as if it's pocket change to get rid of him. But clearly the financial decision makes a little bit more sense. And with regards to the coaching carousel, yes, there's so many names getting bandied about, it gets a bit silly. But I do need to say right now that no, I'm not taking the job. I'm happy with my role here at the AAW network, and
damn it.
So you can cancel all the rumors. I'm staying here, and I've had so many DMs about it this week. Are the rumors true? What rumors? There's no such thing. I'm staying put.
Thing is, what's to stop any team? You could pick any team you wanted, paying effectively James Franklin absolute peanuts. Here's $100,000. Here's $100,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
You'll get the other $7.9 million from Penn State, and instead we will save that money. We'll save that money, and we will go and spend it on improving this or improving that, or getting this guy or getting that guy. Effectively, by being in the public domain, that all he needs to do is look for. You have got those teams that could attract a really, really good coach for absolute peanuts.
Yeah. I thought it was an odd thing to put out there, because I thought the same thing. I was like, well, a team will just come to him and go, hey, we'll give you whatever you want for the next whatever years, but hey, Penn State are going to be paying, come and have free reign at our organization, but let's rinse Penn State for whatever they can rinse them for. It's a weird thing to throw out there.
I think if you got a high school job, that'd be one thing, but if you got a top tier job, there'd be a lawsuit coming someone's way.
Yeah. I was going to say, is that duty to mitigate got to be like, listen, you can't do this unfairly and do that. You've got to go for what would be a fair market value contract.
There'd be a market value adjuster in there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically all it needs is now someone needs to ring the snitch line at the that the commission's got. No, it's not called a snitch. It's not called a snitch line, is it?
Whistleblower line or something, isn't it? There you
No,
go.
it's called the snitch line. I'm calling it the snitch line. Um,
It's been
okay,
rebranded.
so we had a big week 7. There are so many different things to talk about, and as always, we're gonna go through the top 25, go from 1 to 25, and then go through some more games on the side of it. Because we may as well just get straight into it. The coaching
There
talk that'll go on for weeks. Loads to talk about. More coaches will get fired. Also, bad week to be called Trent and a head coach in college football. Clearly.
seems so clearly.
Um,
Yeah.
so going from number 1 in the week 7 AP poll, number 1 ranked in the country was Ohio State, who won at Illinois 34-16. Did anybody catch this game? Because, oh, there was the other bit of news. Bit late now. Big Ten and football is available on DAZN, but we'll cover that a little bit more important in about 4 hours when we're done with the week 7. Ohio State at Illinois, 34-16 win. Pretty
Um, I,
convincing throughout.
I thought this was
I
a good game. I caught some
this
of
was
it.
a good game. I
It
caught
was
some of
a
this.
Yeah.
game.
They looked Ohio State for the first time for me looked like a number 1 team. They did not look. I mean, Illinois are no mugs, right? And they were dealt with. They were handled by that Ohio State team. There was no danger. There was no drama. This was a team that not a smashing, you're not a flashy response or result, but took care of business against a really good team and just looked like a quality team.
I think I'd describe them as ruthless
Yeah,
because Illinois didn't help themselves. We had, I think there was three drives where we had interception, touchdown, fumble, touchdown, fumble, touchdown. So Illinois were making mistakes, and Ohio State were capitalizing. They're taking
yeah,
advantage.
just absolutely ruthlessly taking advantage. Yeah,
So, great from them. I think Julian saying had a decent day at the office as well, 2 touchdowns, high percentage completion. I think Illinois as well. I think I wrote down 47 yards on the ground.
Mm.
It didn't really
didn't get anything moving, did they?
anything
But then
really
is that
going.
Ohio State's defense didn't allow them, or was it they
And
were a
yeah,
bit
there's going to be an
misfiring?
element of that, I think. Because I think Luke Altmaier got 248 yards through the air. So that was kind of working, but
Yeah,
they weren't getting anything explosive off. So they were moving forward and getting shut down. They weren't scoring. They weren't putting points on the board.
yeah,
And then when you drop the ball twice, give it to the other team,
football
not
field,
and well,
yeah,
not in the mood Ohio State in. So
yeah.
yeah, they looked like a number. Yeah, like you say, they looked like that number 1 team this week.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And it annoys me just a bit just how good Julian Sane looks at the moment. He really does look good.
Yeah.
He's good with the football, where he's placing the football, getting it to the right guys. He's playing clean football. They say 19 of 27, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Look, you're not talking about lighting it up. What you're talking about is being good with the football, play. Like I say,
It's
playing
not, yeah,
clean,
it's not
clean
putting the
football.
football in danger,
Just,
right?
just being
And
efficient, isn't it?
yeah, and NFL coaches love that. From what Sam was just saying about players who could step up, NFL coaches will look at that and efficiency, not putting the ball in danger, no risk of turnovers, nothing like that. You'll have coaches purring over that sort of performance.
Okay.
I think it's safe to say that they stay at number 1 for most people.
Yeah, I mean, you're number 1 now until at least until you lose, depending on when that is. If that is. But yeah,
It was
that's
2. So I mean, if they lose next week, then they could. Well, this week they could plummet because they've got Wisconsin, so they
Yeah,
could
they lose
easily
that. If they
plummet.
lose that, that could be a bad one. Anyway, we're
Well,
getting ahead of ourselves, but
the way
that's next week.
Wisconsin are playing at the moment, I mean, that could be a cricket score.
Yeah,
but everything crossed
Everything.
for the farmer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So convincing win by Ohio State. They remain or will likely remain top of the AP polls and the UK and Irish poll. Moving on to number 2, that was Miami, who I believe were on a bye week this week.
Yeah.
They did not play. nothing to really discuss in this department. Then you can't.
No,
I think the
Miami
only
have done enough up to this point to stay at number two. They should not fall. They
yeah.
should not drop. Nick's I'm a big advocate of this. If you don't play, why should your rankings change?
Yeah, I do think.
I second that as well. I think I don't think you should be punished or benefited
Rewarded.
rewarded when you don't play games.
Yeah, I think at this moment only UNC and Kent State could be the teams to lose a bye week. I just see that happening. They could be. So go straight to number three, and the reason why our regular cast member has returned again today is to talk about the Oregon Ducks. Now I will give Adam all the credit. We called him out last week, or not called him out, but we requested his presence this week before the game, a massive game this weekend. Adam agreed, and despite the result in which Oregon lost to Indiana at home in a 30 to in
He
30
couldn't think of a
20.
decent excuse.
He couldn't get out of
I
it.
couldn't get the cough going.
He couldn't get out.
Adam did not back out of it, and he has turned up with like the man that he is. Adam, it only feels fair to let you start us on this one. Where was the game won or lost for Oregon this week?
Yeah, it's only right. I think 2 weeks ago, come on ill, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed after the Penn State result. So
That result's not looking so great anymore.
good to come in here. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's good to come on here after this one. So yeah, 30-20, but really I see 30-13 because we had the pick six. So 13 points on offense is not what we want as Oregon. It's funny if I think about going into this game, we had a lot of the buzz around Oregon was on the talent side of things and what we done at Penn State, which I think as a standalone result was a good result in time. Obviously, time's been quite harsh to that, but it's about the talent we've got, and we're such a talented team. We're going to win because we're so talented. With Indiana, the buzz was more around the stats lines. They're just delivering quietly, winning ugly, but just putting points on. They were starting to look good, and the numbers suggested they would win. And I think really that played out in the end. I think they came into Altson and punched us in the mouth. They were just so much better in most aspects on the field. Probably unfortunate to go in only 13-10 up at that point with a late field goal. We made some mistakes. Dante Moore didn't have a great game, but I think really, if I'm fair, a lot of that was Indiana forcing those mistakes. I mean, we're a couple of weeks out from Halloween, but Dante Moore was already seeing ghosts in that pocket. There was times, once or twice, it was collapsing on him.
That's why he's becoming a regular. He comes out with absolute
just for the
nukes like that one.
I'm here all week. The pot. Sometimes there's a few times the pocket did collapse on him because the Indiana's defense is good. There's a few times we had quite a clean pocket, wasn't getting his seeing the progressions, was escaping a clean pocket and getting hit. So, disappointing. I don't think it's a disaster because we've lost to a really good team, albeit at home. But I imagine the coaches are getting hold of them this week and fixing some of those mistakes. And it's early enough that there's time to fix them going into the second half of the season. But that version of Oregon can't turn up too many more times because it does get tough. That Penn State result, time's not been good to it, so it doesn't look that great now. So our best win on the schedule is Northwestern at the moment. So when you start getting the schedules out and comparing, that's not ideal.
It's not. Yeah.
But just to add, Fernando Mendoza, I thought had an amazing game. From a talented quarterback who can put the ball where he chooses. It's his decision. He played a great game.
Elijah Terrett had an absolute monster of a game.
Sarah as well. I mean, he will be an NFL receiver. So if he keeps that up, sticking in his hands a couple of times where it should have stuck in our hands and didn't. So we just got beat fair and square.
Sometimes that's the joy sometimes, if you like, of college football. Of you should win, you rank this, that, and the other. Sometimes a better team or a team that's more organized or just executes better, just beats you. And all you can do is just go, we got beat.
We got beat.
We got
And
beat.
it's so unforgiving in college football. If you think about the Premier League, we've got 10 months over 38 games, and eventually, more often than not,
balances out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it balances out. You can lose the odd game here or there. Everyone will lose the odd game here or there. But college football, you get 12 games.
Yeah.
So you lose one like this, it's very visible and very meaningful. But it doesn't make us a bad team. It puts us probably out of the Big Ten championship game. I think that's the way it's looking. It's Indiana and Ohio State. But we'll be there or thereabouts, I'd like to think.
Yeah, I think you've got some bigger games coming up towards the end of the season, haven't you? Obviously, Iowa, USC, and Washington, and Minnesota are probably obviously the last 4 games, and you'll be looking at those 4 games thinking they're sort of must wins, and not necessarily because of the position, but it's more just because they're must wins in terms of you want to be making sure that you're solidifying that spot and having no more sort of slip ups.
Yeah, it's statement
ready
win
for that
territory
playoff.
now.
Statement win territories to get you ready for what's going to be a slightly harder sort of bracket through the playoffs, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at that.
But equally, though, Iowa will be looking at that game today and UCLA and thinking, right, well, if we really put the pressure and show Dante Moore some looks on shifting the coverage, we might be able to wobble him and rattle him here, and so we're gonna have to come up with a plan for that, because others will see that as the blueprint to how to rattle a young quarterback, because that's what he is still. For all the talent, he is still learning his trade.
Yeah. Couple of things.
I was going to say I could see that Rutgers game next week, or this week, sorry, potentially being a bit of a anger fuck sort of game where you just take all your anger out from last week on them.
Well, yeah. It could be a bit of a hiding, bit of flat track bullying going on there. Although I did see
please
someone.
don't, because Seamus, a friend of the show, is still planning on bringing the Rutgers kicker from Ireland onto our show.
Oh, is he?
So try to be nice to them. Try to be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, although I think I did see someone on Twitter say, "I hope you lot don't go and do a Penn State now. You've lost the game." And
there's a chance, isn't there? There's always a chance that something, wheels come off and everyone, no, end of the world, end of the season. We're not in the Big Ten anymore. Not in the Big Ten as in the running for the championship. What's the point?
I think the difference between the two, because that's an interesting comparison. I think with Penn State's a very senior team. A lot of guys coming back together for one last ride. So I think I can understand why that fell apart, when they lost that Oregon game. Whereas with us, because we are still young and in development, you could argue it's pleasantly surprising to be at 5-0 going into that Indiana game. So, hopefully the mindset's a little bit different, but, we'll find out.
Yeah, probably that Penn State team's probably looking at at least half of that team's probably looking towards the NFL now, aren't they? So,
yeah.
A couple of things that I noticed in the game, by the way, was that first touchdown by Malik Benson.
Yes.
You will not find an easier 44-yard reception for a touchdown than that touchdown was. He was it was such a great play design. And one that was worthy of your head coach going on national television and getting his top off with Pat McAfee. And you thought, this is it. Oregon have arrived. And then it may, then what transpires probably makes Dan Lanning feel a little bit silly for getting on national television with his top off with Pat McAfee. But it was fun to watch. I'm not going to lie. The tattoo, I didn't realize he had that tattoo.
No.
Kurt Signetti is brilliant to watch. As a head coach, as a person, whenever he gets interviewed, he's very, very quotable. But at the end of the game, you could see, I can't remember the stat that was pulled on him, but he was told it was something like Indiana's first top 10 win, or first road top 10, something along those lines. And he was quite clearly choked up a little bit, I think, when delivering and spoke about how, look, wherever he has gone, they've had big on the road wins against much tougher opposition, and that's what he does, and he enjoys it. But my favorite part of the whole thing was, um, during the game there was a DPI no call, which I do think was a DPI on Oregon.
Yeah.
But Kurt Signetti was furious
Ballistic.
to the point where I think if he would have said one or two more words, there would have been a flag thrown on him and probably
Yeah.
a little bit of trouble. But um,
I
yeah,
think they let him off because it came up on the big screen in the stadium about how brazen it was. So I think the line judge went, okay, look, yeah, you're probably right, but just go and sit down, please.
Yeah,
yeah, we'll give you.
Wind your neck in.
a little bit, basically.
Don't make me make a decision here, please.
Yeah. It's a bit like when my wife when Mrs. Fletcher will turn around to you and say, "I beg your pardon." She wasn't asking me to repeat what I said. Give me the opportunity to stand down and walk
Yeah,
away. You know, just
yeah. It's not a repeat. Don't. It's not. Are you sure you want it? It's more. This is your out. You know.
Yeah.
yes, this is your going to the
I
moment.
dare you to say that again. To
Um,
be fair, to be fair to Kurt though, if you look at Indiana last year, you know, yeah, they got beat quite soundly by Notre Dame. They couldn't get anything started. But other than that game last year, they were really good. They looked solid. They looked solid on defense. They were improving game by game on offense. They were looking solid. And he's just basically taken that blueprint from last year, advanced it into this year, and they are looking really good. He deserves
yep,
all the praise for what he's doing with that program. And he's slowly
absolutely.
but surely adding more and more to the program itself and the quality. And I think, you know, if he wherever he gets Indiana to this year, whether it's losing the Big Ten championship or whether they end up in the playoff and lose first round, he deserves the plaudits, not how did you lose it, wherever he deserves to hold his head high at the end of this year, regardless of where they finish.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As a character, he reminds me of kind of 2004 Jose Mourinho in terms of the sound bites,
Yeah,
the aura around him. You sort of focus on him takes focus away from the team a little bit. Hasn't got quite the success of that 2004 version of Jose yet, but we'll see.
Mm.
yeah. I will. I'm gonna just need to
Remember who was ranked
open.
fourth?
No, no, I'm opening. There's another tab I need to open. For so right there we go. Moving on to as we finish, number 3 Oregon loses to at home to number 7 Indiana 30-20. Moving on to number 4, that was Ole Miss who won 24-21 against the Washington State Cougars, based in the Pac-2. I'm not
That
gonna
could have
lie
gone
to
the
you,
other way.
This was a
At one,
rough game.
yeah. At one
Uh,
point, that was going the other way, and it didn't look to be changing. It's like,
No.
you know,
Yeah.
they pulled it out at the end of the game. At the end of the game, but they could have come unstuck there.
well, Washington State had the ball in their hand, I think, with a minute left to win the game.
yep,
Yeah.
Um, just yeah, Ole Miss should not be getting in those kind of scrapes if they are,
If they're
well,
serious about being
already, yeah,
contenders and serious about being anything, they should not be in position where teams like Washington State should be have the ability, as you say, with a minute to go, have the ball in their hand and a chance to make a massive upset.
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Not particularly impressive stuff, but I think they'd missed a field goal. They fumbled as well. It was just one of those awful days, ugly days.
I wonder if it was a complacency thing as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think
You know,
that's fair. Probably underlooked them a little bit.
yeah, over looking at the next game or looking at their next opponents or whatever else, and just think, it's just Washington State. Yeah, we'll just roll in and whatever else could have been. And then any given Saturday, as we've said, any team at any point in time execute well. And if you've gone in there with a little bit of a laissez-faire attitude or haven't really prepared, you can come unstuck. And Old Miss were very lucky not to come unstuck.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good point because looking at the stats, 8 penalties for 99 yards they gave away. Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's just
In fairness, Washington State gave away 8 penalties for 70 yards, but that suggests not really focused.
under preparing. Yeah, that suggests a little bit of a
Lack of discipline.
lack of discipline, lack of preparation, maybe a little bit of it's just Washington State. Doesn't really matter what we do, we're going to get a win anyway. Type thing.
Yeah.
I'm only referencing that when for the Knowles when they went in against the first win, the first of our 3 losses, whenever that was now.
Yeah. Well, don't worry, we can talk a bit more about Florida State later on in the episode. I'm sure we'll get plenty of opportunity to do so. Absolutely. Anyone have anything else to add on the Ole Miss Washington game? Washington State even?
No, it wasn't a game I watched, to be honest.
No, I didn't catch very much of this one. Okay, so Texas A&M got a win versus Florida, 34-17. Looked pretty convincing from what I saw. I was getting little clips of it here and there. DJ Lagway, 37 attempts, 21 completions, 245 yards, 2 touchdowns. In comparison to Reed, who was 16 of 26, 234, a touchdown and an interception. No one, like even by looking at the box score, which don't judge a game personally, by the box score you shouldn't. No one's lighting this game up, but Texas A&M were clearly just a better team all round.
Very, very similar to what we said about Ohio State, just efficient.
Yeah.
And just kind of put up the points that they needed to. I mean, there wasn't, I think obviously the quarterback Marcel Reed had a very good game.
Yeah.
234 yards, 61% passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I think he also got a rushing touchdown. So he had a very good game. But I mean, I caught a little bit of this game, but I think you look at, there's just a lot to that team, and they seem to just be working well as one unit. I don't think there's a few star players, but there's not anyone that's like, no one's standing out. They're just all playing well as a team and playing well together. I mean, obviously you've got the likes of Conception, who's probably seen as the star wideout, but there are other wideouts in there that are doing just as well, if not better than him as in some games. And the same with the running back situation. So I just think you look at some teams and you think they just seem to have it all together, and it seems to be working just at the right time. I mean, again, you're looking at the SEC, and they are currently, championship team for the SEC champion team against. But I think at the moment it'd be them against Ole Miss at the moment. So, obviously we talked about Ole Miss, and now we're talking about Texas A&M, and they look like a really good team that just seems to be working well as a unit. And that's, I think, especially for when it comes to like the playoffs, can be a very dangerous mix when you're coming up against them, because it's the unpredictability of who's actually going to be the one to step up. They all could. So I think for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the SEC championship.
Yeah, looking at their running as well. I mean, it's always tough in the SEC, but there's levels of tough, and it doesn't look too bad to me. You got South Carolina still in there, which they're proving to be very much this year. Yeah, I mean, but they're all winnable games. Missouri may be the hardest one on there. That's at Missouri. I suppose they're still going to Texas as well.
At Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri are the next 3 games. Then at home,
that's tough. 3 tough away games there. Actually, you look at that.
Yeah, at home to the Gamecocks, but then they have got Samford Bulldogs, which they should absolutely pummel.
Oh, they absolutely smash that.
Going into that final week against Texas, which, depending on where Texas are going into that game, could be a case of they're already out, or they're just they're just
making up the numbers by that point.
They know at that point they're either going to be in the playoffs or they're not, or they know that they're going to potentially be just trying to get into a bowl game. So
yeah.
And the same for Texas A&M. If they go into that game, already
guaranteed a playoff type thing,
guaranteed the championship, or guaranteed a playoff place, that game may not matter to them. Although it will matter on like Texas A&M versus Texas game, a rivalry weekend game sort of thing.
This is where, and I'll say this, right? I like the playoffs by committee. Like where you fall in the playoffs is by committee, because it does add, even if they are in the championship game by week 14 when they play Texas, still something rides on it because the seeding, even if they win the SEC, where they fall within that seeding might be first, might be second, might be third, might be fourth. So there will still be something in it. You have to still win that game against Texas. You have to still perform. Otherwise, one, you go into the SEC championship game with a loss, which you don't want to do. And you could have just fallen in the seedings. Even if you do go into the championship game, you might now be seeded sixth, and that'll mess up. Even if you win it, that messes up your that messes up your seeding within the top four. If you lose that championship game as well, you've just lost two on the bounce. Your seeding is terrible going into, and that's one of the few benefits. As much as frustrating as deciding playoffs by committee is, that's one of the benefits of it. Is it still has so much to. There's stuff on the line.
It kind of takes away some of the dead rubbers towards the end of the season, doesn't it? Because you still have teams that will be making sure. Yeah, you got to play for it. Otherwise,
I still think that the players in their heads will still be an element of, I do not want to get injured at this point. And that'll still play a part, especially going into a game which will be hard hitting, because that game's never nice.
Yeah,
so
definitely, and I think that harks to Adam's point about Penn State players. I think a lot of those players now are probably turning their minds already to the draft, and there's going to be some business decisions. There's going to be some business decisions being made there.
Yeah. Okay. So Texas A&M, they get the win against a Florida team who Billy Napier. Look, teams that I don't want to talk too much about the firings, but James Franklin getting fired makes the decision to not fire Billy Napier a lot more difficult as time passes, because other teams are not accepting it.
Well, Billy Napier must have some dirt on somebody.
So, gotta do. Right. Unless Ori doesn't have one of these clauses in his contract and he has to get paid a ton of money.
Or the buyout is massive. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. But then Florida aren't exactly short of a bit of cash. I don't think they're.
Maybe they're doing another Netflix show and they don't want to sack him in the middle of it.
Or waiting for Gatorade stock to boost a little bit, so an injection will come in. Okay, moving on though to number 6. Number 6 ranked Oklahoma, and I promised Sam that I would let you get on your high horse about this one, because Oklahoma lose in the Red River rivalry to Texas, 23-6. Now, Sammy, I'm happy for you. Texas may be back, but if you want to talk about it, you've got to say 3 times in a row, Red River rivalry.
Why 3 times in a row?
Because you'll never get it.
It's a tongue twister.
Red River rivalry. Red River rivalry. Red River rivalry.
Right, okay, there we go. I know it went quite what I was envisioning ahead. We'll after a bit. That's not happening. That's not happening.
Is that what
yeah. It's supposed to end up like red lorry, yellow.
It's like red lorry, yellow lorry.
Yeah. So okay, Sam.
Take it away, Sam. Are Texas back? Are they back?
Talk to us. What happened?
I think it was a weird game. Neither team looked good. I think one of the things I'd probably say is that But I think it's one of those games where the teams have played each other that much that they know how to manage each other, and I think we saw that in the first half. I mean, probably the way that I I'd start with probably the biggest thing that I would start with is the fact that obviously I know obviously Gary you mentioned that was Mateer was back, and that was potentially that was the big talking point. I think he missed 17 days with
Yep.
an injury, and the big thing from this game, especially sort of as the overall game went on, it really showed he'd missed 17 days of football because the way he was throwing the ball, he was there was so many throws where I thought that's a proper hospital throw, and you just
Yep.
think someone's either going to get absolutely wiped out, or what did happen was the three interceptions, and I think that was where, to me, that's where the game was won and lost. It was the fact that Oklahoma were making good drives, but then were just making mistakes,
Just shooting
and it
themselves in the foot
allowed,
almost, wasn't it?
yeah, and it allowed Texas to get into the game and to build that sort of build their foundation. I mean, you probably I think the biggest moment, I think probably in terms of where the real big turn came was that was at the end of the second quarter, where where Oklahoma had the chance to hit a field goal from, is it something like 47, 50 odd yards, with their kicker, who's a good kicker, who would have made that, probably would have made that kick, and then had gone into the half 9-3 up. But
Yeah.
instead, Mateer decided to try and throw what appeared like it was like a Hail Mary, but
Hail Mary glory sort of thing, wasn't it?
it was one of the worst throws I've seen, and I noticed it with every time he threw an interception, the style in which he tried to throw the ball just didn't look right, and it looked very sort of forced. And you could see every single time it was like, that's it, that's going to get intercepted, and the throw was that bad. That it was, I mean, Muhammad didn't have to do anything; he just stood there and caught it, like it was straight at him. And I think that's where the big turning point was that point, because I think we then came straight out into that second half, got the 3 points to bring it back to 6-6. Another interception was thrown, and we then just took it down.
Just the way
There was that little pop throw over the top to get the touchdown, and it was just kind of an uphill battle for Oklahoma. I think probably the one thing I will say, this, although Arch Manning had a good game, in terms of his stats, and he didn't have much to do. It was, I mean, his when he was forced into pressure, you saw almost like what everyone wanted from Arch Manning. I think there was one where he was almost going to, I think it was in the fourth quarter, where it looked like he was going to give up a safety, and he threw an absolute dime to Livingston for like a 20-yard catch. And I think we're starting to see a bit more of the Arch Manning that people were expecting from this year. It's only in little glimmers at the moment, and I do think that he has still a long way to go. I think Weidner looks like he could, again, he looks almost like maybe another year and he could potentially be NFL ready. He looked absolutely phenomenal on the ground and in the air as well. And I just think we're starting to pull things together. That defense is still, it was good last year. It's good this year. It's probably what's, if anything's, kept keeping us in games and giving us a chance. But I think we just need to keep on this train of, use this victory to kind of propel us into the next few games. Next week this week, sorry, we've got Kentucky, which isn't going to be an easy game, but again, should be a game that we should win. After that, it's Mississippi State Bulldogs, which again, you would expect us to beat them. Again, it isn't going to be an easy game, but you would expect us to beat them. And then after that, it's, God, where's my phone going? Vandy's going to be a difficult game. Georgia's going to be a difficult game.
Yeah.
Arkansas is obviously going to be a difficult game, and then obviously we already talked about the Texas A&M game. So I think we really need to use this as the momentum going into this season. Now I'm finishing off the second half stronger than what we've started the first, because by our standards it hasn't been good. But the problem is that O-line is looking terrible still.
Yeah.
And at the moment we're literally relying on a freshman to be the lead guy in that offensive line, and that's concerning.
Yeah. You only gave up one sack there, didn't you, on Saturday? I think.
Yeah, but I think that was more just down to the fact that Arch Manning was getting it out of the
Okay.
pocket
They
quick.
weren't getting the opportunity.
Yeah, and like I say, I think the one good thing was that whenever they were putting pressure on us, I think it was forcing Arch Manning into making the decisions, which before I think he was thinking too much about it. We saw it in that game against a higher week one where he had time and just started trying to do weird things and throwing, sidearms and all sorts of stuff. Whereas this week, I think he was forced into
more
making,
relying on natural
he was
instinct
forced into
type thing.
making, yeah, and that really showed a bit more of what we expect and is a bit more of his talent. But yeah, I think, like I say, the biggest part was the fact that, I think Mateer was just not game ready, and that was the biggest thing for me.
I think you're right. I think he rushed. I get why they did, but I also get, it's likely that they rushed him back way too soon.
Yeah. And they left him there as well. I mean, he had 38 attempts. They didn't rush. They didn't have too many carries, 30 odd carries. He was still there in the fourth quarter when, they were pretty far behind by that point. You think, do you not trust the rest of the team? Why are
I
you
mean, how bad are your backups? How
overplaying?
bad is I
Yeah.
mean,
And he
I know.
was sacked 5 times as well.
He went
And
he went out, didn't he, at one point with his hand bleeding?
Oh, did he?
I'm
yeah,
pretty
because
sure at one point he was out.
that was after the tackle by Maffei, not by Maffei, wiped him out, but by Taft, sorry. But yeah, it was just if I'd have been Oklahoma, I wouldn't have put him in that game because it's already a tough enough game as it is going into that game. And to throw him into that position was an odd decision in my opinion. But
Yeah.
You know, it was more it was just in terms of going forward, the more concerning part was the fact that he threw the 3 interceptions and how bad the 3 interceptions. I think probably the last one maybe was part his fault and probably something if he'd have put it on him in the correct position, he would have been fine. But it was knocked into Littleton's hands. So maybe that one you probably couldn't. But the other two were some of the worst interception throws I've ever seen. So and then a special mention to Niblett with the punt return for as well, which was really good which
we all like a punt return.
I found that run so funny because he got past a few of them, and then the only reason he seemed to get past the third guy was because he bumped into his own player and just ran around the
shoved him in. Yeah,
he just bounced off him and then just went round and was through. So he again. It's always nice to see a return.
Special teams. A special teams TD is always a highlight. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Does it?
Special team. Yeah. Okay. Are we good with this game now? That is an unfortunate place for my face to freeze there on the screen.
I got the golden hat again, which was nice to see. Art Manning wearing the golden hat.
Lovely. So, Oklahoma, number 6 ranked Oklahoma, lose to Texas in the Red River rivalry 23-6 after being 6-0 up early in the second quarter. Everything was all Texas after that. Moving on to number 7 ranked was Indiana. We've already spoke about their game as they won versus Oregon 30-20. So next up is number 8 ranked Alabama, who won at Missouri, 14th ranked, 27-24.
Just a good game. Just a good game. Just a good game. Two good teams going at it. just a good quality game.
Mm.
You
And
couldn't tell.
a loss for Mizzou that shouldn't really impact, massively, because 27-24 is a minimal loss, but it was just a really good game.
It was one of those games where you couldn't tell at any time who was going to win. It
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
it was end to end. It was solid. Even when a team didn't score on their drive was pushing. The drive was successful. It was first down. And it was like, this game is really good. This game is really interesting, and you couldn't call who was going to win until close to the end. And that's that. As someone who is watching a game like that as a neutral, you can't ask for a better game to watch than a game like that.
Yeah.
Because I had that game. I had that game on. I had the Texas game on. I'm trying to pay attention to other games that other things on, and it's just like I can't take my eye off this game. And I stopped watching the Texas game at third end of the third quarter because it was just I couldn't concentrate on everything that was going on. And this game was really interesting. At not one point did it disappoint and go, oh well, I can take my eye off the ball.
You're going to relax a bit now. Yeah, absolutely. It was the perfect advert, as you say, for a neutral to be watching. This was it. It was like, show me a good college football game to show as an advert for people who have never watched a game, who don't get it. This was it. It had everything, as Nick says. Two really good teams, hammer and tongs, drives that were, successful, consecutive first downs. Just who's going to win, who's going to win, who's going to win, who's going to don't know.
Yeah. Couple of notes on this game, I think, in just to showcase how generally even this game was. Net total yards for each team. Alabama had 325, Missouri had 330. Mizzou ran the ball a little bit better, 163 yards to 125, but in turn, Alabama passed the ball a little bit better, 200 yards to 167. Both teams scored on every red zone possession. Alabama were 4 of 4, Mizzou were 3 of 3. Both of them had one field goal, the rest were touchdowns. The couple of places where I think the game was quite heavily skewed, but it doesn't reflect personally. But it was just, I think, the way both teams played the game slightly differently and where they were stronger. Alabama had more manageable drives and shorter gains, but longer. Shorter but longer. Shorter gains, longer drives. The time of possession was 38 minutes 33 in favor of Alabama. Like, that was a lot. It's almost 2/3 of the time you had the ball. Tackles were quite heavily in favor of Missouri, but again, if you're having a lot more plays, that means there's a lot more tackles being made. It was, so
their third down percentage, Alabama's third down percentage was 30% higher as well, which, when you look at things like that, is a big difference.
Yeah, can't keep your offense on the field.
Yeah, but I mean, even you look at even the penalties, it was relatively clean as a game. There was only 9 penalties between the two teams for 75 yards, so it was just an all round great game, and I Ty Simpson, I thought, was absolutely brilliant in that game with his 3 touchdowns. I mean, he had a passer rating of 74.2%, which is really good especially when you consider the fact that he had 31 attempts and 23 were onto other were completed. It's the very sort of when we're talking about you needing a solid quarterback to be able to make plays when you need him to make plays, not just for the sake of it. That's the sort of reliability that you want, especially if you want to be going deep into the playoffs as well.
Yeah. And a lot of them, I think, when you talk about it being a relatively clean game, absolutely. But the penalties are quite different when you look at both sides. So the Alabama offense had 4 of their 5 penalties, a couple of illegal shifts, a couple of delays of game. The defense had 1 holding. Missouri's offense had 1 holding, But then the penalties on Missouri's defense, you had an unsportsmanlike conduct, you had an offsides, and you had a targeting call, which was accepted. Disciplined as a
Which
whole, but Missouri's defense, some of those plays that do let you down in the end when you have players going out, when you have starters going out because of targeting,
I was going to
that
say,
lets you down.
didn't two of Alabama's players get knocked out? I think I remember seeing there was one in which was the targeting, but then I think there was one which I messaged in the group that said I thought was targeting. It wasn't. It was a shoulder, but again, he was down out cold. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think probably when I meant clean game, I meant as it not very many penalties rather
Oh
than
yeah. I know what
actual
you mean.
physicality, because it was a very physical game. But
Well, yeah. I mean,
um,
like as a whole, they're isolated incidents rather than
yeah,
not being clean. A couple of holds is a problem. A targeting is normally an isolated incident. Sometimes maybe they are a little bit personal. Sometimes it's just a bit of an accident. Your head doesn't drop at the right time, or it doesn't pick up at the right time, or I've seen multiple games this year where unfortunately you've gone with the shoulder, but your head's just slightly in front because of the
Hmm.
position of your. They happen, but yeah. So I agree. It was generally a clean game, and that what you would consider to be a messy game in terms of penalties, a lot of those were not present within the game.
was it the who was it the was it one of the Oklahoma or was it one of the Alabama players that ran into a brick wall last week or week before?
Oh,
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 Because either
I
way,
saw
he was
it.
out. I think what it
He
was
was.
it?
they took that wall down, didn't they, in the end?
Yeah,
No, they can't. I don't think they can. That's the thing. I
was
think
it
they can only.
Keontae's Lewis?
There's
Was
something
Keontae's
about that
Lewis?
wall. Yeah, there was something about that. Everyone was going, "Why is it? Who on earth put the wall there?" It's like that stadium's been up for 100 years. That wall's been there for a long time. You can't just tear it down. They got to put some. Why they haven't got padding on it is a different matter altogether. But
Yeah.
yeah. I can't remember. It's going to annoy me now. I
I
can't
think
remember. But yeah.
I think it was Keontae's Lewis, wasn't it? Because it was at Kent State.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lewis was injured during Oklahoma's win over Kent State in the
yeah.
first quarter. His momentum took him into an unpadded section of the wall beyond the back of the end
Yeah.
zone.
I knew it was a team in red. I just couldn't remember if it was Alabama or if it was Oklahoma. But because I remember seeing it flash up on the screen. So yeah, I was thinking it was Alabama. It wasn't. So never mind. But yeah, he played against us, so he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has no one done one of them memes yet where it's like brick wall, linebacker, Kent State? No, I love them ones. But yeah, so a pretty even game throughout when you consider the most of the major stats. Alabama edge one out over Missouri. Moving on to number 9, because we do need to start flying through some of these now, is Texas Tech with a dominant win over, very sad to say, our very good friend Coach Leopold, and his London-bound Kansas Jayhawks. The It was a very, very dominant display throughout the whole thing. But the only thing I'll say, because I'll leave it to you guys to kind of go through some of the other bits, how devastating it is that those of us who will attend the Arizona State Kansas game next year will not get to see Jalen Daniels in person. Forget the score for a minute. That kid is special.
Yeah.
That kid is a special talent.
Yeah. He's a bit of a star in the making. It will be a shame that he's not going to be there. This game didn't see it, but it's one of those ones I did not manage to get around to watching. So I don't know if anybody else caught it, but
Yeah, I watched a bit of the highlights. Cameron Dickey basically ran the show.
Yep.
200. It was very much. We talked about Ashton Jenney last year about the way he used to dominate games. This was one of those. 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, over only the 21 attempts. Averaging 12 and a half yards a carry is just
wow.
insane.
That's
And not only that, he also caught 3 catches for 16 yards as well. So he can do both sides of it. But he just ran the game. And I think it was just one of those games where, once Texas Tech got into a very early 18-0 lead and basically just went, there you go, Dickie, just run the bloody ball for the rest of the game. And that's exactly what he did. So, they even had the chance that they were able to bring out Morton for the second half. So, sorry, not Will Hammond. Sorry, not Morton. They were able to bring out Will Hammond, who then went and got himself 2 touchdowns rushing anyway. So, he just thought he'd get in on the game. But they looked levels above Kansas in the game the whole way through.
Yep.
It just sounds like it's almost a 2-tier game. A team that is just better. Sometimes you get that in college football, as we say. You just get teams who have better athletes or whatever. And this sounds like it was one of those.
Yeah, they're starting to deliver on the money that's been spent on their Texas Tech. You can see where that investment's gone, and it's bearing fruit now.
Yeah.
Kansas didn't reply at all in the second half, did they? The defense just didn't show up.
No. Couple of fun stats for you. Jalen Daniels had 255 yards in the air. Dickie Cameron had 263 yards on the ground. The Kansas had a total of 319 yards in the game. Texas Tech had 372 yards on the ground. That's just a level of dominance throughout the game where, look, trench battles completely dominated entirely by Texas Tech, not even close. And then you just let whatever happens after that. But when you get dominated on the line like that, when Dickie was finding the gaps that he was finding and just being able to break the tie, it wasn't close. It never looked close. That's it. That's your game there.
I will say, because obviously listening, if any of you out there listen to either our Hurdle the Line or one with the Fantasy Den, I'm a big tight end advocate, and one that I'll be definitely looking at for this year is Bowden Grown in the draft. If he goes in this draft, because he had 13 catches out of 14 targets for 76 yards. They're just the sort of numbers you want to see from your tight end in a catching tight end. So
13 or 14 catching 13 or 14 targets. That's eye catching enough to kind of make you go.
Yeah.
This year, I mean, he has out of his 27 targets, he has 25 catches this year for 310 yards. And the yards aren't great, but he's still averaging 12.5 yards per carry, and the 3 touchdowns to go with it. So he could potentially be one that the team's looking for a tight end this year. He could be one that could potentially go maybe sort of third roundish,
fourth roundish.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from Texas Tech, Kansas, we go on to number 10 ranked Georgia, who got the win over Auburn, 20-10. Gunnar Stockton, 24 of 37, 217 yards. Arnold was 19 of 30, 137 yards. Pretty close in terms of yardage when you really think about it, but Georgia kind of threw it and got the ball going in the air much, much better, little bit cleaner, and just a little bit more efficient with the ball when they had it. Did anybody catch much of this?
Well,
Was it a fumble?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, this was dominated by that, wasn't it?
It's so close. It's literally. The first time I saw it, I didn't think it was. And every time after that, it just cemented my mind that no, I don't think that was a fumble. I think he just, but the more, I guess the referees can't sit there for 20 minutes and watch it over and over and over again. They have to make a decision, and then you're asking for clear evidence to overturn that decision if they're wrong. If they'd made it the other way, there wouldn't have been clear evidence to overturn. So ultimately, that decision hangs in the fact that what the referee decides on his initial opinion, because there's not the evidence to turn it the other way. And as I said, had they said, "Yeah, that's not a fumble, that's a touchdown," then no one could have turned around and said, "Actually, he fumbled it before into the end zone," because there wasn't evidence to prove that. So
Yeah.
it's such a tight decision though, and I don't want to say it turned the game, but I think it sort of like sucked the life out of Auburn, and they just couldn't raise their game to just keep going.
They never got over it and they never recovered because they didn't score in the second half at all. I mean, they were 10-3 up, I think, at that point. So they could have gone into the half 17-3 up.
Yeah.
Could have made a difference. Yeah.
Could have made it. I mean, or Georgia could have just got the hairdryer treatment at halftime and come out and steam through them anyway. They probably didn't help.
Yeah. This is yet another game and another example of Georgia being terrible in the first half as well, and much, much better in the second half. This continues to happen. And as you say, hairdryer treatment, that's some of us know that all too well in football.
They've got to get over that now, Fletch.
They're going to find out. They're going to get found out at some point, aren't they?
Yeah, they can't keep having bad first halves or subdued first halves and come in behind the marker, because at some point they're going to run into a team that are not going to let them come back.
Oh, absolutely.
They need to get over that and work their issues out so that they're not on it from the start, as opposed to we're in a game now, we better wake up, because it's going to come one time and it won't work.
Next week will be a big example of that, because they've got to play Ole Miss this week.
Yeah.
So this could potentially be the week where we either see Georgia sort it out or Georgia get punished
come unstuck
for doing for being that slow start as they have been. Do
you think the wheels are coming off at Auburn?
I think they're playing to the expectation. To me, I don't think anyone expected. I think you speak to a lot of people and you see a lot of the preseason. I think, or the preseason talk around Auburn. I think that they're about where they should be. I think you look at the 3 games that they've lost this season: Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia. I mean, those are games where at the start of the season you'd probably say they were going to lose them, and the 3 games that they've won, you would expect them to have won them. So I think they're exactly where people thought they were going to be going into this season, and I don't think necessarily the wheels are falling off, because they're not. It's not that they're getting blown out of these games. Have you looked at the last 3 games? 24-17 against Oklahoma, 16-10 against Texas A&M, 20-10 against Georgia. They're putting up a fight, and you think, next week they've got Missouri. Could they potentially that could be a game where they could get over the line rather than falling short and it being a close game? So I think I think that they're probably doing as well as people expected them to do, and they're doing as well as I think of where they are ranked at, if that makes sense. I think they're just they're doing what people expect them to do.
I think as a program, they're on an upward trend. I think as a program they are improving. They are looking better every. It goes back to what I said about Indiana and what Kurt had done last year. I think as a program they are looking significantly stronger than they did last year. Their wins last year, although they weren't like close to the playoffs or anything, their wins were competitive. Their losses were, some of them were big and, some of them were competitive. Whereas this year, they look to be far more in the game. Sam's just said it. In the games that they're losing, they are being competitive. They are in it far more. And I think, so as a program, they're on that upward trend. And you can't expect to... We've said this, about, NFL teams, whether it or Premier League teams. You can't expect to turn around a team in one off-season. So I think... the program is going the right way, and I think if they continue to do what they keep doing, they will be there or thereabouts where they need to be. Yeah. And Sam said it. They are probably about where they deserve to be, but I think they do have more in their locker as the season goes on.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen a lot of changes around Auburn, and I think that's going to have played its part in a way of, the team as a whole are going to still be learning as a group, aren't they? And learning that sort of way, how they're going to be playing. There's still quite a few young players in there. Jackson Arnold, he's only in his third season. He could potentially stay for another. I would probably likely bet that he would probably stay for another year, and see that Auburn rise, probably improve, and also build up his own stock, because I think after seeing him at Oklahoma, where he kind of flattered to deceive in that second season, I think he's now gone to a place where he probably feels a lot more comfortable and he's able to showcase his talent a bit more. So I could see him probably staying another year, which again will help build.
Will help the Auburn.
Yeah. So, okay. Georgia walk away 20 to 10 winners. I want to give a massive round of applause to Georgia for that one. Massive round of applause to them. That was definitely a round of applause, not a timeout. Kirby, I understand your problems. Moving on to number 11, LSU. They get a win over South Carolina, also 20 to 10. At one point, halfway through the third quarter, this was an even 10-10 game. Then LSU just start running away with it. They moved the ball better in the air, much better in the air, a bit closer on the ground. South Carolina, 13 penalties, 65 yards, undisciplined. LSU, 3 of 5 in the red zone. South Carolina never got there.
They've been a big disappointment this year.
Yeah.
Massive disappointment.
Yeah.
I expected more. I'm not saying I expected them to be, pulling up trees and smashing everybody, but I just expected more from South Carolina. Every time you see, every time they lose, they're not in games. They're just not there. They're not. They're just disappointing. There's not much else I can say about it. They are just underwhelming and disappointing this year. I expected more from them.
Sellers hasn't been as good as I expected him to be. Like, after last season where he'd started to look like a
potentially a
potential
Heisman-esque discussion
We were
player.
talking the first few weeks in those sort of conversations, weren't we?
Yeah, and this year I just think he's
just not made that step.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his stats; they're very similar in terms of he's probably going to be, if he stayed on the trend that he's going to be, he's probably going to have potentially 50 less completions, 500 less yards, and the more worrying part is the fact that he'll have potentially 10 less half the touchdowns that he got last year, which is the more concerning one. He only has 4 touchdowns this year throwing, which I think is a big concern.
Well, the selling point was that he could do both, and he's not at the moment.
Not at the moment, no.
Yeah, it's like I say, he's flattering to deceive at the moment. I think that's the more concerning part, is that again, even on the ground, he's only got 1 touchdown himself. So you look at South Carolina and you want to see where their issues are. Not getting touchdowns. You're not going to win games. You don't get touchdowns. And there's only so much where things will continue this way, and you can't always rely on your running back in that situation to be able to get you out, especially when even the 2 teams, the other running backs that they've not been particularly great either. So it's like Nick said, it just doesn't seem to be working, and I don't know what it is.
Disappointing. It's just disappointing all round. I think, as you say, that everyone thought and hoped, or not hoped, but had this idea that they'd just be in and around, and they just haven't been.
Yeah.
LSU, I think from their perspective, it was just a case of very similar managing the game and just not doing too many stupid things, and Nussmeier, 60%, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, there was 2 interceptions with that, but again, another tight end. Traders Green is another one to look at in terms of, he had a big week this week. So
yeah. I mean, the only thing with LSU across the board is that I don't think they're scoring enough points for where I think they'd like to be. I think for the season, points for 155. When you look down the SEC, they're kind of in the middle of it.
Mm.
They probably want to be doing a little bit more than that. There's a lot of
Mm.
teams in the SEC in the 200s now. I know there's
Really.
probably a few easier games at the start, but
It's
155.
not like the SEC are known for putting cakewalk games in early to score points.
Well, so
Mm.
they're 25 points a game at the moment, and you've got
Well,
Georgia at 32, Ole Miss 37, Bama 34, the Aggies 34. So they're not in that conversation at the moment, and I think that's going to be a problem down the stretch.
Yeah.
And
I'd like to see them start using Harlan Berry a bit more because they don't seem. I mean, he was, seen as the number one running back recruit out of the league, and he's
yeah,
barely been involved. He's only got 111 yards so far.
mm.
So I would like to see them using more, but it might be just getting him used to the league.
Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to add on LSU South Carolina? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to rank number 12, Tennessee survivor scare against Arkansas. I guess a scare, not really. Both teams traded blow for blow for blow in the first half. Touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, 17-17 at the half. Then out comes Tennessee, runs away with it, 34-17, and too little, too late by Arkansas. Again, and it seemed like
Um,
again a scary first half. Tennessee runs away with it. Arkansas can't quite come back in the end.
yeah, then that's fair.
that's fair. Yeah.
I didn't watch any of this game to be honest, so it looked like a good game though.
I watched the last few minutes when Arkansas were chasing, and it was all, especially when you're watching, the ESPN coverage, not on DAZN, but through ESPN themselves, and their, through their sports center, and they're constantly flicking from their,
Back
because
to the
this is
pundits
happening or
and
that
stuff.
is happening, so you're starting to notice more and more as Arkansas close the gap, and it's like, oh, this could happen, this might, but like Fletch said, little, too late. But again, a little more like, although the score was different, a little more like the Georgia game, in that Tennessee just came out second half and went, yeah, we're not going to mess around now. We've had
Yeah.
enough of this, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
smashed them. So I think
You've had your fun. It's like,
the difference in quality showed in the second half, I think.
The main difference I think as well within that though, absolutely you're right, was in the second half, Arkansas just not good enough with respect to keeping hold of the football. They had 3 turnovers in the game, 3 fumbles, one of them in the first quarter, but then you've got 2 fumbles lost in the second half, all in the third quarter, and a turnover on downs. Like it's just not good enough at keeping hold of the football. One cool stat though, and we always like these kind of games. I guess in the end, there was 981 yards of offense throughout the game, just shy of 1,000 yards of offense. Who doesn't like a game
who
with lots and
doesn't
lots of
like
offensive
lots of
yardage?
yards? Lots of yards.
Um,
It's one of those games which is good for someone getting into college football.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as you know, I live in the house with a huge, huge Tennessee Volunteers fan. Hence why this game wasn't really on. To be fair, this weekend, we didn't really watch much of it, and that's not a lie. We didn't really watch much of it. Moving on to Georgia Tech, who got a win over Virginia Tech in the Battle of the Techs, 35-20. Georgia Tech again, better team of the two. The Yellow Jackets are now unbeaten still on the season and climbing the rankings. Weren't we so also lucky to get to see them win last year in Dublin? And Haynes King,
Fairly routine win that really,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Never again. I don't think 15-0 in the first quarter, and that's game's done.
yeah. Um,
they've just come off a bye week as well, so they've picked up where they left on. It's not a case of where they've had their bye week, come back and started slow. They have they've picked up, like, let's go, keep going, and churned out another good performance. They keep going. I've said I've had them higher in my rankings than most for a few weeks. And I'm not shy of that. I think they are doing really well, and they keep this up, and they will deserve everything they get.
Yeah. Just wanted, right, okay, so just wanted to rewatch this again because actually it just reminded me to watch. Um, Georgia Tech did one of my favorite things ever in football, and we all like the obscure plays, the slightly different ones. Uh, 2 point conversion. It was a really, really good 2 point conversion as well. First touchdown of the game, go 8-0 up. It's not a try and climb back some scores and try and just get slightly ahead. They hadn't missed a PAT or anything like that, so they're trying to get back to even points. It would just start the game off and say, screw you, Virginia Tech. I love it. I love it when teams do that. And like you say, very much a routine win. Blistering first quarter, and then catch us if you
Put
can.
off the gas, catches if you can. Yeah.
Catch us if you can. FYI, you can. Haynes King, really, really good. Again, 213 yards in the air, 69 yards on the ground. Hosley, sorry, 129 yards on the ground as well. Just like I said, routine, really good with the ball. And Georgia Tech still are unbeaten. Moving on, number
Still
14,
the best team
Missouri.
in Georgia.
We've been through this. No, they're not. That'd be the Kennesaw State Owls, my
Kennesaw
friend.
State Owls.
Listen, it's not our fault. We have to deal with the elite conference of Conference USA. Right? We have to deal with that conference and the horrible schedule that comes along with it. Toughest division in all of college football.
I think at the moment, to be fair, I think at the moment the best team in Georgia are the South Georgia Catfish with Chad Powers running their team. Yeah,
Ah,
4 episodes in, I am loving that series. It's amazing. But they filmed it
You
at
good?
South. They filmed it at Georgia State at the Center Park in Atlanta, which is where I was last year. Because I'm watching it, going, that stadium looks really familiar. Especially not because the game stuff they did up at Georgia, up at Sanford, but the non-game stadium stuff they did down at Center Park at South. In Atlanta, and I'm looking at it, especially the training montages and everything. I'm thinking,
I know that
I
place.
recognise that stadium. I'm sure I've been there. And the more and more I watched it, as the first few episodes, I'm like, that's Centre Park in Atlanta, and I was like, I've been there. I've been there, So, but I am loving that series. If anyone's not not watching it, they should be.
I can't believe they made a whole series out of a skit that.
Ted Lasso is the same thing though. Ted Lasso was a skit done by Jason Sudeikis in like 2011
Yeah,
to promote the Premier
because
League on
that was
NBC.
about NBC getting the rights to the Premier League, wasn't it? Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, it worked at the end of the day. We saw it yesterday, and Mrs. Fletch was asking me about it, so I just had to show her the skit instead and just say, "Oh, makes sense now."
Yeah.
So that is now on the list to watch. Next up, we have Missouri, who we spoke about them. They lost to Alabama. 15 was Michigan. They didn't play this week. We're not talking about it. Moving on to number 16.
I think we need to talk about them.
Come on now, we have to add Michigan to the tanking of the ranking.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was one of the worst performances that I have seen. USC were better than Michigan in just about every phase of the ball. Doesn't help that the night before stayed up to watch 15 innings of pathetic Tigers baseball. Then I get to stay up on Saturday night and watch this Michigan team just completely shit the bed against USC. And then the night later, I get to watch the Lions shit the bed against Kansas City Chiefs. It's just what a horrible.
It was a good week. It was a good weekend.
weekend.
It was a good weekend for Michigan sports fans.
No, because
Good weekend for Philadelphia sports fans as well. Apparently,
can't even say Michigan State had a good weekend because they ended up losing as well. So I think the only thing I really needs to be said about it, it's quite a simple game. USC were better in just about every regard. They were better on defense. It was billed as this kind of offensive mind versus defensive mind in Lincoln Riley versus Wink Martindale, and Lincoln, it was not a genius offensive mind versus a genius defensive mind. It was a very good offensive mind versus Wink Martindale. Just a defensive coordinator. It wasn't pretty. USC better the whole way through the game. Michigan struggled to get the ball going on the ground, struggled to get the ball going in the air. Mayava had a fantastic game, really good in the air. USC were much better, even better on the ground, if I'm quite honest with you. Yardage doesn't obviously agree, but the way they played
The
on the
king,
ground was much better.
the
Um,
king, the king was tearing your team apart.
yeah,
King Miller.
and
At least you didn't finish the game and start a fight. That's
well,
Yeah,
night
you got to take the
was it
plus.
the next night my team did decided to finish the game and start a fight. Thank you, Brian Branch, for making this weekend at least interesting. Yeah,
I
said.
wanted to make a shout out because one of the players I think we've, you know, in terms of probably looking in college football and looking towards the NFL, Mackay Lemon is starting to actually put down the numbers that everyone expected him to do. We talked
Yeah,
about, Mackay Lemon was talked about for years as being a stud wide receiver, and we didn't really see too much from him in his first 2 seasons in terms of what we were expecting from him. But this year he's been brilliant, and he's already doubled the number of touchdowns. He's only less than 100 yards off the yardage he got last year. And he's just looking a lot more like the wide receiver we expected him to be. So just wanted to make a shout out to that, really.
yeah.
Yep.
Again, I'll get conscious of time, start flying through. But first, we have Notre Dame, who got the win against NC State, 36-7. Seems pretty routine, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, again, nothing's changed from last week. Notre Dame are in win, 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 win mode. They cannot afford to do anything. The more, to be fair, and I said this last week, so again, nothing's changed. The more Texas A&M win, the more Miami keep winning. It helps Notre Dame because they are their only 2 defeats. Hopefully, they will be their only 2 defeats, and it helps them as they continue to win. If the only 2 defeats are top ranked teams, so Notre Dame continue to do what they need to do. They just keep winning. The scoring points, the offense is looking much better game after game. I'm really loving watching CJ Carr, Jordan. Love, not Jordan Love, but Love's getting more and more carries. Which he's getting more and more carries, which he wasn't getting early on in those first few games. His yardage was right down. So again, the defense are playing high. The only disappointing thing to come out of this game is we lost our center for the year. So I think hopefully we just continue to win, but it's no change as of last week. We just got to keep winning.
Yeah. Lovely stuff.
USC will be the big
Big one.
test.
Big one.
That's the
Yeah,
test.
and we're very, very excited for that one. That's one of the college football's greatest rivalries, which I'm sure we'll get on to in just a minute. I'm not going to say too much on this one. BYU just about scrape a win against Arizona, 33-27. Big 12, always competitive, but a big win for ranked number 18 BYU. Then we have in 19 is Virginia. They run a bye week. So moving on to 20 was Vanderbilt, who were also on a bye week. Diego Pavia probably setting updates for his mum. Arizona State were in number 21. They lost to
London-bound
Utah.
Arizona State, if you don't
London-bound
mind.
Arizona State got their bums kicked 42-10. So just a quick one.
That game, I was going to say that game, Dampier had an absolute field day in that game. He was unreal. Especially more so on the ground, he just looked unstoppable in that game. And I think the one thing, because I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights today, and the big difference that I saw with the two teams is Utah were getting free reign runs at Sims, whereas it wasn't happening on the other side, and that was the big difference. The D line on the Utes was just a wrecking ball for just ruining any sort of chance that Sims had to throw the ball. And yeah, that was the big difference. They just utterly dominated at the line.
Yeah, he got sacked 5 times, then he seems.
Yeah, sacked 5 times for 34 yards.
Yeah. Not a good weekend for the Union Jack Classic. Both teams let up 42 points. 27 points combined. Uh, yeah, just not a great week for the two teams coming over next year. Here's to a better week though next week. Iowa State, they lost to Colorado this week, 24-17, reaping the losses of multiple massive pieces on that defense. Colorado with a huge win, a very important win after Coach Prime has had another health scare and another operation, to which look, always want him to be doing well and health wise.
He also nearly got wiped out on the side of the pitch as well.
Yeah.
He dodged it and one of his other coaches took the hit. So
he delegated that down to somebody else, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like someone else's problem. Memphis in 23 had a bye week. USF. Now I watched this game. This was one hell of a game.
yeah,
Not officially a ranked matchup. USF, who were 24 in the AP poll, against North Texas, who were number 21 in the UK and Irish college football media poll. I class it as an unofficial ranked matchup.
Official, unofficially ranked. Yeah.
USF walk away 63-36 winners.
This was a mental game.
Mental game. Wasn't it? It was a sellout at North Texas as well, wasn't it? It was the first time they've sold out their ground and stuff.
But first half was fairly even. Like the first half, it was, I think they went into the half, was it 21-21 in the end?
Yeah.
Or 28-20 or something like that. And then I just don't know what happened, but North Texas just shat the bed in that first part of the third quarter. Just absolutely, I think they gave
Didn't come out of the locker room, did they?
End of the half, it was 21-14 in favor of North Texas. No, sorry, 21-21.
Yeah, but USF got a late touchdown, but I just remember it. The first thing that I was watching it, there was the fumble which went down as what wasn't a fumble. Then they fumbled it, which then led to a touchdown, and then he fumbled on the next drive. It was just mental. Like, the way that game just flipped on its head. And by that point, I think, USF had walked away with it, and
on the game had done better, wasn't it? Yeah.
Was it this game where, I think it was this game where the USF, was it number 7 on the defense, got a touchdown, and also got it was Schuler on the defense. He got a touchdown and then got an unsportsmanlike conduct for taunting whilst getting the touchdown. Because he basically just walked along the edge of the.
Is it the one where he started moonwalking?
Almost. Moonwalked along the
goal
line.
He was just fucking about, wasn't he? Really, and just it was quite unsportsmanlike. But a lot, I think, in the commentators, they were saying actually it should have been given as a if it had been given as a taunting rather than an unsportsmanlike conduct, it could have potentially been overturned and it wouldn't have been a touchdown. But because it was given as unsportsmanlike, the touchdown stood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, we're going to go to Florida State versus Pitt. Pitt walk away 34-31. Gary, just as quickly as you can, tell us what went wrong for FSU this week.
Everything.
Just lost connection.
Yeah, I'm just frozen. No, just everything went wrong. It was just poor. I think two bad losses on the bounce now, and now this one was just another ineffectual, poor game. Just bad. Just things are bad. Although 3-3 is about where we expect it to be. This is realization. This is real. This is where we are. The Alabama was, the early bloom, if you like, was maybe a false dawn. This team isn't as good as it made out in the first few weeks. there are still some real problems in terms of discipline, in terms of just process and stuff like that still need to be ironed out. If it carries on, Norvell his seat is definitely getting warmer. I think it's safe to say.
I think it's
Castellano still had a good game,
inconsistency.
didn't
It's inconsistency across the board on all sides of play.
Yeah.
Special teams, defense, offense. You know, everyone seems to be able to put a good game together. Like for example, Alabama, and then you come to you look at this week, and everyone has a bad game at the same time. And it just seems to be across the board this inconsistency.
Yeah,
And I think
not one
once
side.
you,
The defense isn't lifting the offense out, or
yeah,
the offense isn't back. It's just like, oh, you're not playing well, or we're not playing well, or no, oh, that then the special teams won't bother, and it all just seems to,
I
just
think that's half. I think that's half the battle at the moment for
Yeah.
FSU, that they just can't
can't get
get
out of their
of
way.
their own way.
Yeah.
Well, did you say, Sam? You were saying,
I was just saying Castellanos, based on stats, still seemed like he had a pretty good game. Only 3 touchdowns, 245 yards. I mean, it's not
yeah.
terrible.
He's not. It's not totally, shit the bed. It's all gone horribly wrong. It's not, last year's
I mean,
absolute
he got a
nightmare.
passer rating of 202, so
Yeah, I mean, he's doing all he can to raise the team up, but there's only so much one player can do, and the rest of them are, shooting themselves in the foot, or just getting in each other's way, or just really not living up to potential. Bye week can't come soon enough, really.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd love to get into some other games. We don't have the time to get into other games. Let's go straight into the AP poll after last week. Brand new. So, couple of quick quips on the AP poll. 2 biggest risers are USF, who rose 5 places, Indiana, who rose 4 places. There are 5 new entries this week. USC,
5.
Texas, Utah, Cincinnati, and Nebraska are all welcomed in to the AP poll rankings, as Michigan, Illinois, Arizona State, Iowa State, and Florida State all fall out of the top 25. Couple of big fallers. The 2 biggest fallers are Oregon, who fell by 5 places, Oklahoma, who fell by 8 places. Does this seem like, if you can see it in front of you, great. If not, we'll probably come up with a couple of pieces to help you understand. Is this about right to you now? And I apologize for it saying week 7.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
I think Texas are too high.
yeah,
Personally, I think they're still 4-2, and that's what you got to remember. There are some other teams underneath them.
Yeah.
Memphis, for example, are
Texas are too high, and Notre Dame, Nick. Sorry, Notre Dame are way too high there.
Oh
Way too
yeah,
high.
I fully agree.
I do. Do you think that the 5 drop is fair for Oregon, given, look, it wasn't a massive loss by a lot, and it was against a team that is now ranked number 3. Drop by 5 is fair.
the difficulty is how far back, the teams that have come up in front of them. So Indiana have to take third, I think, because they came to our house and beat us. But A&M had a good week. Ole Miss won. Bama, it becomes a difficulty to say where does that slide stop? So I can understand it. I think in my own rankings, I was probably 8 or 9. So are they the 8th best team at the moment? Well, in terms of results and what they showed on Saturday, probably.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind this is what happened where we are now. Back to what I said earlier, we are now a team that our best win is against Northwestern. There's still enough tools and talent there that I'm sure we'll go on and get some other more decent wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8 is probably about right, really, with everything said and told after Saturday.
Still no UNLV. Shocking.
Still no.
Well.
Still no. Rebels.
Well,
In this one.
speaking of UNLV, now let's go to the official top 25. That would be
The real top
real one.
25.
the UK and Irish college football media top 25, of which we are all voters. You will find Notre Dame are still slightly more appropriately placed at 21 instead of 13. Texas are down there at 23. UNLV are in there. I quite like this one. I'm much happier with this one, believe it or not, than the AP poll. When I submitted my votes, I know I'm not going to be funny. If you have two losses in a column, don't give a crap who you are. You were not in my top 25. Michigan
Fair.
were not in my top 25. Notre Dame were not in my top 25. Texas were not in my top 25. Two losses. No, don't care.
There's, as you say, there's teams out there with much better records that deserve to be in there for anybody who's got two losses, even with a name like Texas and Notre Dame.
Yeah. So
Despite
the only thing I don't agree with this one, and we did mention it earlier, is I don't think Miami should have dropped a spot because they didn't play. I think it's harsh dropping them a spot given the fact they didn't play. But I kind of understand, with how big of a scalp, if you would call it, in beating Oregon, I can understand why people would put Indiana at 2. But I just think it feels harsh on Miami that they've not been able to retain that spot when they can't even
Haven't been able to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
it goes against the consensus of this pod as opposed to my opinions. But where are the Navy?
Yeah.
I put
And
Navy.
Navy got my vote.
I have a rep on this podcast that says I don't like the Navy, and that's not true. But I had them. I didn't have them ranked massively high. I had them at, I think, 21. I put them at, but
I put them 25th.
Yeah, I had them 21.
I had them 23rd
and I'm like,
or something, I think. Yeah.
And it's not about whether it's this poll or whether it's the AP. Navy are undefeated, and I keep banging the same drum. If you can only play who's in front of you, if you are undefeated, Fletch, you just said it there. If you've got 2 wins, you're not getting in your top 25. Well, I'm sorry, if you're undefeated, you're getting in my top 25 because there's not 25 undefeated teams.
Yep.
It is the 1 point loss to Wake Forest is the only reason Kennesaw State are not in my top 25. Just saying.
Yep.
No, they.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you, Nick. I don't know why Navy aren't showing up anywhere here. By the sounds of it, they got 3 of our votes. So
yeah. I need to find the notes with my actual top 25, but I know if you had any of those who were in and about the top 25 anyway, who had a 5-1 record or better, they were in. I don't think Tulane got in, but like I said, I know UNLV got in on my behalf. I know Navy got in on my behalf as well. Quick show of hands before we get on to week 8. The only week 8 games we'll talk about are the ones that are on, because there's so many on DAZN this week and available in the UK. That's all we can talk about given the time. But quick show of hands, who put Georgia Tech above Georgia? I know I'm putting my hand up.
I didn't.
Yeah, I did as well.
I did.
Right. Okay. Just let us know who our real friends are in this group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have
second best team in Georgia, aren't they?
Behind Kennesaw State.
Yes.
So we have, as of the news last week, it came out just after again we recorded on the pod on Thursday on
Like
Wednesday
they did it on
night,
purpose. It's like they're doing it on purpose.
Do this all the time. They say, "Screw you guys, we're gonna drop the news after you record." The zone and the Big Ten, specifically the Big Ten, came to an agreement to get Big Ten football, which means at the last second, Michigan were annoyingly available this week. Oregon were available on our TVs. Big Ten teams were all available on our TVs. So we have a huge roster of games this week.
What did we end up last week? We had
21
games were available to UK viewers last week.
Now,
there's so many.
We are 1 week into the 49 days of an FBS or NFL game every single day. I apologize for anyone on YouTube. This is the new graphic for now while I try and figure out how to get the other stuff to work. Tonight, this is too late. It'll be too late, but tonight, as of midnight, it'll be East Carolina at Tulsa. Tomorrow night, Friday night, we have 25 ranked Nebraska at Minnesota, and then we have California at UNC as well. Any of these games take your fancy, guys?
No, but I thought
Not
Louisville and
really.
Miami were on. Maybe I'm wrong.
That day.
I thought they were. I thought they were on midnight on Saturday, Friday night, Saturday morning. But maybe I'm wrong.
Louisville, Miami, yeah, midnight, Friday night into Saturday, yeah.
Is that just why was it not? It wasn't showing up on my. I can only go off what I saw on my DAZN, and if it weren't showing it up, it weren't showing it up.
Well, as in
No
they're
worries.
playing, I don't know if it's on the zone or not.
Okay.
It's on.
I,
It's on ESPN.
maybe I.
Okay. Right.
No worries. Go on. Carry on.
Yeah. So I will be watching East Carolina at Tulsa because sad. I will also be watching Nebraska at Minnesota. Probably won't quite get to California at UNC. I'm not that desperate to watch UNC. On
Mhm.
Saturday at 2 p.m. we have college game day, as is tradition. Absolutely loved it. Last week I got to watch game day in full for the first time yet this season. Childcare and father stuff and husband stuff normally gets in the way. And then at 1:55 p.m. on Saturday, Mrs. Fletcher walks in with a load of housework to do, just as I sat down and ready to watch college game day. I thought it's only Mrs. Fletcher
You
could
did
do
it
that.
all in 5 minutes.
I didn't do it. The I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
And of what and we all know he paid for not doing it on Saturday on Sunday. So
Yeah, so there's a massive mountain of. Well, I still haven't done the washing, to be fair. No, I did do it very, 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 very quickly. Then at 5 o'clock, we have 17 ranked Vanderbilt at number 10 ranked LSU. We have Washington at Michigan. We have Arizona at Houston. Then at 5:45 starts South Carolina at 14 ranked Oklahoma. I'm going to ask you all a quick question when I go through these games. One game on the TV, which one are you choosing? I feel like it's
Vandy,
making sense.
LSU.
Yeah, Vandy
Yeah.
LSU.
At 5
I-
o'clock, yeah.
The Washington Michigan game should be interesting as it always is, but I would rather watch a ranked game.
Yeah,
Mm.
I don't think I have much choice in. I'm not going to agree with anyone here, but I'm kind of
Yeah,
biased in
tied
my
for the
decision.
Michigan game.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vandy LSU will be on other screen. Multiple other screens going anyway. 8 o'clock, Purdue at Northwestern. At 8:30, we've got Georgia at Ole Miss. We've got Michigan State at Indiana. We've got Ohio State at Wisconsin. We've got UNLV at Boise State, and USC at Notre Dame will be on Sky Sports NFL. Any game on this is DAZN unless stated otherwise. The USC at Notre Dame's on Sky Sports NFL. Nick, I'm pretty much sure which one is your.
Yeah, Notre Dame will be on the big TV, and the Ole Miss Georgia game will be on the DAZN app on the iPad, and that's me from 8:30 to whenever.
Whenever it finishes. Yep.
Okay, guys, 8:30, that game, which one you choose? And if you have to choose one, because we're doing this thing where we're recommending for people who will only watch one game at a time.
Got to be the Georgia game. It's got to be Georgia
Georgia Ole
Ole Miss.
Miss.
Yeah, highly.
Yeah.
highly
IB5. It's one of those.
You're all wrong.
Well,
That
obviously, with the Notre Dame game going on another screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have both of them, but I think if I had to pick one, just more so for the implications of the SEC, I'd be looking at Ole Miss, Georgia.
Yeah. And again, this is like some of us are degenerates. We have multiple screens going on. Some of us have multiple games on those multiple screens. So we are degenerates. Leave us be for it. It's fine. If you are only a one screen person, that's okay. If you want to hear 9 games at once, join us on Discord. We'll happily walk you through that. At 9 o'clock, Texas Tech at Arizona State. That should be a fun one. 9:15, we've got Florida at Mississippi State. Should be a fun one. At 11 p.m., we have, as we should all know by now, Coach Ryan Bowles, Hawaii at Colorado State will be available for free via the Mountain West app, right? If you've got a phone, download the Mountain West app. They have games for free every single week. Shout out Oliver Hodgkinson, friend of the show, who put us all onto that one. At 11:30, this is where it gets interesting, is Oregon at Rutgers. Then at midnight, we have Kentucky.
Rutgers should be getting a kicking there, right, Adam?
Should be.
Hopefully. Should do.
Kentucky at Texas, Penn State at Iowa, Maryland at UCLA, a resurging UCLA right
UCLA, yeah.
number, and then at midnight it's Alabama, Tennessee. And when I was quickly out of those games there, you have one game to choose. Is it Alabama, Tennessee, or
Yeah.
Yes.
see, you would think so. I'm gonna go with Maryland at UCLA here.
I only watch Texas, so that's my
Hey! There it is.
I think Maryland at UCLA would be interesting because can UCLA keep up this momentum?
Yeah, this resurgence under their new OC, and yeah, don't know.
Yeah.
Been an interesting one. Maryland, yeah, don't know. Yeah,
Europeans have been quite. I watched their game against Washington where they were well up and then fell away.
Hmm.
But yeah, they've had some entertaining spots this season.
What did like
the
quick
Ba- the
question?
Bama the Bama Tennessee game should be really good.
should
Yeah.
be.
Should be.
That would be my choice if Texas weren't playing.
Yeah.
Even though you wouldn't actually watch it anyway, just
No,
sit
I
down
don't.
with the
I don't.
podcast.
I'm not gonna. I actually won't be watching any college football until midnight on Saturday.
That's fair. I mean, understandable. Understandable.
And even then, he's only going to be watching it a small bit because he's got to travel to London for
Yeah.
the big game.
Oh yeah.
That's very true. Yeah. So I won't even be watching it. Realistically, it's midnight. I'll be.
Realistically, you'll be in bed sleeping because you got a long train.
I'll
You
watch.
heard
I'll
that,
watch.
Chapman.
Well, actually, I don't know because I'm going to be staying at my mate's house, and he's the reason I got into watching Texas. So we may stay up and watch some of it.
All right. Sam, if you want some of the degenerate staying up late tactics, right, hit me up because I do it all the time. Like I say, I'll be staying up to watch East Carolina at Tulsa. Then
I
to
can
finish
guarantee, I
off,
can guarantee you're not staying up till 4 a.m. in the morning to watch Florida State play at Sanford, though. Well, sorry, Standard.
is that a challenge?
Yes,
Are you laying that down on me?
I am.
Right, we're done. Okay, so I will definitely be watching
I
Utah at
expect
BYU.
pictures. I expect pictures showing that you're awake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 a.m. club. The Utah at BYU at 1 a.m. at 3:30 in the morning. It is Stanford at Florida State.
And it is Stanford, right? Not Standard. Or Standard.
I did
whatever
accidentally write Standard. I apologize.
Standard. Yeah.
Listen,
I was
Standard,
thinking,
which
I'm
is this
doing
an
this.
FCS team I've never heard of?
Right, listen, I am doing this for free.
For free.
All of this work for no money. You can allow one spelling. Anyway, Sunday night, apparently, according to DAZN, this is what they were saying. I haven't had a chance to double check. But on Sunday, while there's all this National Football League football going on, we will also have Nevada at New Mexico at 11:15.
I won't be watching that one.
Bold choice to be putting a college game on whilst the
Sunday
NFL
night football is on. Yeah. Although Sunday night football is only the 49ers against the
Right,
Falcons.
there's another challenge. I accept.
I will not be watching that Niners game. To be fair, I may watch Nevada over that. I would choose Nevada over that. To be fair,
I just remind myself.
Depends on how your Rams get on on Sunday.
Then I won't be watching. I'll just be turning my phone off if they don't play well.
Yeah. So if we Lions are on. Got the Bucks on Monday Night Football. I don't have to worry about that. That's fine. I'll watch Nevada at New Mexico instead.
Yeah, you do have to worry about playing the Bucks though.
But not while Nevada at New Mexico is on, because like that will just free my mind. That will free my soul, my spirit. Watching Nevada at New Mexico on a Sunday night.
Uh-huh.
I heard you were going to stay up and watch the Texans Seahawks as well, Fletch.
Texans Seahawks, you were absolutely right. Again, like
At 3 o'clock.
how many times do I have to tell you? Like I stayed up till 4 in the morning watching. I watched some horrible football at 4 in the morning. I will stay up and watch anything if it's football. Like, you don't realize, you just don't realize. Okay, so that leaves, without further ado, to say a huge thank you to all of my wonderful co-hosts. Head to the links in the description. Come and follow the CFB UK on social media. Follow the AAW. Join us on Discord. I will be in there most of the weekend. I hope I will also have childcare and father duties to attend to. But we will be watching some football, and I will be in the Discord voice chats watching some football. Huge thank you to Sam. Huge thank you to Gary, Nick, and Adam for joining us yet again for another episode. Seriously, mate, may as well just
sign up.
Sleeping bag. Turn up. Pay the membership fee.
Yeah, get a t-shirt.
And huge thank you to all of you for joining us. We will see you next week to cover week 8.5. Have a lovely weekend. Sam, Adam, enjoy your trip to London.
We'll see you there, boys.
We'll talk about it more tomorrow, Fletch, on Hurdle the Line.
Yes, we will. Hopefully, it doesn't go on this long. There's only so much of me Sam can cope with in his life, and this is already too much. So we will see you. Oh, so yeah, go check out Hurdle the Line, Fantasy Den, and we will see you next week for another episode of College Football UK.